Liz. Good morning. How are you today?
Oh, hi, Carolyn. Haven't seen you in such a long time.
It's so nice to chat with you again.
So good to see you. It's always good to see you, truly. I'm glad we're doing another one today.
We should just have this continued like recording like through our breaks so people can hear our talk between breaks.
Oh, the
Because
behind the scenes convos.
the behind the scenes convo is actually all the juicy stuff. Is like, are you
Uh,
wearing a bra today? No, I'm not wearing a bra. Are you wearing a bra?
right?
Yes, I
No, I
am.
never wear a bra. No,
I was
no,
so
bras,
jealous of you
bras
in
are out of my
Mexico.
life.
Oh my goodness. I would love that. Anyway, today we're going to talk about exit stage left.
Yeah.
What is stage left and how do we exit it? And do we sometimes come back? Mine should be enter stage left.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the exit stage left shows my age. I'm a 62 baby. And the Pink Panther was one of the few cartoons of my childhood, and I loved it. And Snagglepuss used to always say, exit, and he did this thing, stage left.
Oh, that's where you get it from.
Just a lighter way of saying, I've had enough of this shit. It's time to go. We all do a little bit of an exit stage left. If we are in a group of people and there's a conversation that erupts that has a really not great energy, I will do the exit stage left. And sometimes I manufacture a reason, gotta go to the washroom, or sometimes I just don't say anything and leave. Anyways, the exit stage left is always our right in any situation at any time, to, if we need to do that, to be true to ourselves. We can always exit stage left. Leaving Victimtown, though, isn't that straightforward always. It can be sometimes, but especially if we're recognizing for the first time that that's where we are. And that's one of the purposes of navigating shitstorms, is for new people to recognize and become aware for the very first time that Victimtown is where they're living, that the shitty voice in their head, they'll be able to name it for the first time as the maitre d' if they're hanging out in the Guilt and Shame Cafe, or the denial trails. The dirtbag is who talks in our head when that's where we're hanging out. So the awareness has to happen first. And exiting stage left, it's as unique as we all are. And I think we are always presented with opportunities to exit, to leave Victimtown. That's the life lessons, the soul lessons, and our heart voice, the inklings of that messaging is what we hear. Having the courage to act on it is just the next step. And we all only do that when we're ready. And for each of us, some of us are ready a lot sooner. And I'm finding it so inspiring these days to have conversations with younger adults that are figuring all this shit out, and they're in their 20s or 30s, and they have so much more of their lives ahead of them. It is what gives me hope for the future, that there's people out there that are living from a place of love and not fear, and governing themselves by listening to their heart voice at a young age. And I mean, there's no judgment, and it's never too late. I mean, I didn't even start figuring this stuff out until I was like 58. So it's not a competition as to, or good or bad when you do it. Everybody will leave Victimtown when they're ready. And in part 3, with a stronger heart voice and more strategies to cultivate that, it makes leaving Victimtown easier. So awareness is the first step. I mean, you can't embark on any journey or achieve anything different if you're not fully aware of where you are right now, and accept it. and accept it for what it is, because you can't fucking change it. You are where you are in your life, and realize it, accept it, and start giving it some love.
Love it all. Love it all.
Right? Love it
Love it
all.
all. It's
Love it
all a
all.
source.
Right? And we've had private conversations about the contrast, and the contrast of peaceful life, the contrast of Freedomville is Victimtown. And we don't appreciate or are driven to live our lives in Freedomville until and unless we've experienced Victimtown. And we all have, without exception. Every single human has those shitty town voices in our head. So how we leave and when we leave is a unique experience. And yeah, leaving, we can't take people with us. Leaving Victimtown will almost guaranteed we will leave other people that we love and care for and have had relationships with in Victimtown. And one of the most kind of obvious examples I can offer for that is my giving up alcohol. And it's without judgment. And it is probably one of the most prevalent and socially accepted activities in North American culture anyways. But it's interesting that when you no longer partake, when you no longer drink, and I don't have a problem being around other people that have a few drinks. I have a problem being around people that are drunk because I just have no interest in conversation with them.
Nor do they.
Right. But what's interesting is the level of uncomfortableness of those people when I don't drink, right? They want me to drink because if you're not drinking, then the other people that are, they're the ones that feel awkward and uncomfortable, because on some level, in some small little way, their heart voice knows that it's not good for them. It's not. And that's just one example. So figuring out how to get out of Victimtown is different for everybody. And it somewhat relates to all of the modalities that you mentioned at Epiphany Hospital. You don't have to land in Epiphany Hospital before you leave Victimtown. And we all go back there to visit. I mean, shit, I was there the other day, you know?
Yeah, well, and I think that things like alcohol can be a tool. It's also a tool. It's also a tool because some people like, talking about loving everything. Some people will just never not be drinking, and that's okay. And they're not any less than or not necessarily gonna, be able to do their meditation and connect with source and everything else. And that's not what you're saying. I just want to clarify that. What I have noticed is that substances like that exacerbate what's already inside. And so if you tend to be angry or you tend to be sad when you are drunk, you will tend to be even more angry or you will tend to be even more sad. And that can be a little uncomfortable to be around when you're sober, only because that person's not in a space where they are able to work through those emotions or those things at that moment because they're inebriated.
It's a very unique substance in that it affects every single person in a vastly different way. Mostly it's in a not a positive way, and I realize that's a judgment. We're gonna do a whole thing on alcohol when we get to part 3.
So when we get to part 3, okay.
Yeah, I think leaving Victimtown is more about our awareness of where we are and a newfound strength or motivation or intention to want a different life. It's where we reach the point where we think, and it doesn't have to be a massive depression with suicidal thoughts and checking yourself into a residential rehab place. It doesn't have to be that. It can just be a wondering, is this all there is to life? Is this all there is? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You look around and you're thinking of your age and you're contemplating your future and you're like, is this really all there is? And that in and of itself is enough to motivate us to do the healing, to get out of Victimtown and to find more. I call it seeking. So in the newsletter that I haven't sent out for a long time, but people can sign up on my website. I am going to do another one soon. It's actually it's been many months since I've sent anything out. And the salutation is, dear Freedomville seekers, because I think that the seeking is what we begin to seek. That is leaving Victimtown. We're seeking something more.
Yeah. It goes along the kind of the concept of, at the beginning, I had practiced misery for so long that happiness didn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right.
It's uncomfortable because it's not familiar.
Yes. And when Esther Hicks channels Abraham often says, we would rather feel negative emotion than no emotion or even neutrality. That neutrality can still mean growth. It can still mean these things where things are moving, but it doesn't feel like, because it feels so still, it doesn't feel like you're making any progress. Because to some extent, anger it's a very powerful emotion and it feels like progress. You're moving, whereas depression's a very still emotion, right? So anger is actually a little bit higher in that emotional scale because it's a higher moving energy type emotion, but we want to move through it up until the more lighter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you said here in your book, there's a sort of the title. I don't know what that's called. The title, not the title. What's that thing called? Subtitle, right? This one here, subtitle.
Yeah.
It's hard to say goodbye. And I was thinking about do we just exit stage left once, or is it a series of stage lefts?
I don't mean to interrupt you. I have to go close these doors. I'm just going to be a sec. Keep it recording, but they're weed whacking right outside.
Oh, I can't even hear it. Anyway, I don't know. Can you hear me as I'm talking? I don't think you can hear me as I'm talking. She's shutting the doors. For the listening audience, she's on the second level, so it's very close to the weed eaters. So I was thinking when you were talking about exiting stage left, that it's not just a one-time thing where you're like, oh, now I'm done. And you go,
I'm out and the door's closed and I'm never going back there.
Yeah, no,
I
think
that's not the case.
No.
Go back. We're all going back. So the better and the faster we get at exiting.
It.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know one of the channels I like says, it's not that your circumstances changed. It's that you've changed within your circumstance. That's when you know you've changed, is that your response.
That's it exactly.
Your response is different within the circumstance, or you're not as sticky to it as long. Like, oh, okay, I did get sticky, but that was only 5 minutes instead of 5 days. Look at that. Like that is, you're making progress, right?
Yeah. And that's the progress. And we only need to measure that against our previous progress. Right.
Because we're on our own mountain. We're not comparing ourselves to anybody else.
Yes. We're only trying to be a little bit more aware, have a little bit better responses than we did the last time. That's it. That's the growth.
Yeah.
And that's the only comparison and the only measurement. And also to not beat ourselves up if we actually do it worse than the last time, because the resources we have available in that moment might be diminished, right? And so there's that to consider as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, different chapters of my life. I think even when I started deconstructing from Christianity, it was 2001, and now we're 2024. I've not stopped my spiritual journeys. Like when I started deconstructing, I was in church from 2001 till 2015, because for me, it was really important that I understood why I was undoing the beliefs that I had. and also what I wanted to work on what I wanted to replace it with. And I wanted to leave the church, not like by slamming the door, but by just closing it gently, to be like, this is not bad or wrong or anything else. It's just, I choose differently right now. And
Yeah,
I
you
still
were seeking
respect where
more.
right.
Yeah.
And then learning to look back, which is another practice, learning to look back on something that for a while I was feeling disgruntled with. Oh, you taught me these legalistic things. You did this to me. You. To realize, you know what, this was a gift that I gave myself. Now I'm going to get up and open my door because my dog is asking to get out. Sorry. He rings a bell. I just
Oh,
happen to
I
be
love
right
it.
beside it. And then
That's awesome.
I have a doorbell outside, so you might hear the doorbell ring too when he wants to come in.
That's amazing.
No, because he
He's
only
so
rings it if he
smart.
sees us. He hasn't learned to, we haven't taught him like when you don't see us ring it. But
Okay.
anyway, so when I was,
Yes.
when I was,
Yes.
yet. So when I was leaving church or whatever, I respected it so much. And it was important to me that I leave well, but that felt like an exit stage left, but I was still in
Mhm.
Victimtown. I was still victim. Like I left in 2015 and I had my 2020, like kind of really undoing of some of the harder things that I was resistant to take a look at. And then
Yeah.
I was ready. And then, like you say, it's a constant, you're exiting and entering as you're learning new things, and to be
Yeah.
gentle and easy on yourself when you do that.
I love the point you made about deconstructing, and you used it as it applied to you and the beliefs you had about Christianity in that church. And it also can be applied to the places in Victimtown. For a lot of us that have been hanging out there for a long time, for example, the Control Factory, which was my entire life, there was some deconstructing that was required
Mhm.
before I could leave. So, I think that all of the places in Victimtown, particularly when we're really entrenched there, you can't just, I don't think the average bear can just become aware of they are and say, okay, time to get the F out, right?
Mhm.
It it takes some deconstructing and some reflection and time to have that the tools to gather our courage and our strength and our motivation. I think the deconstructing also provides motivation and knowledge to be able to take that next step. And it can be really scary to leave.
Anything, right?
It's
Any thought
different.
system,
Anything
any belief
new.
system,
Yeah.
anything. It's there's a measure of uncomfortableness that happens, but I kind of use the term comfortably uncomfortable. You're going to feel stretched, but you want to
Yeah.
be comfortable within the decisions that you make so that it's in line with who you are, right? So yeah, definitely deconstructing anything takes so consideration of what was I taught to believe.
Mhm.
Oh, everybody believes this. Who the fuck cares that everybody
Right?
believes it? Who the fuck cares? Like when I homeschooled my children for 15 years, I was a weirdo, right? But I benefited so much from it, blah, blah, blah. But who the fuck cares that I didn't fit in? It was hard sometimes to not fit in with mainstream or whatever, but
Yeah.
who cares? You have to do it for yourself. So yeah, I'm kind of going on a bit of a
Yeah,
sweary
no.
diatribe there.
No. I get it, and it makes sense. And again, in part 3, we'll get into some strategies where we can rewrite our stories. We
Mhm.
attach meanings to things that happen to us, and oftentimes the meanings we've attached to events are what keep us in some of the places in Victimtown. And there are stories, whatever it was that happened to us. And probably the Guilt and Shame Cafe is the place where we do this the most. We attach meanings to things that we did that we weren't proud of, and until we can rewrite those more from a lens of love with our heart voice, and that's part of the deconstructing process.
Mm,
Then we can exit stage left.
I love that. Oh, I love it. Well, I feel so blessed to have you in my life and in my orbit,
Oh,
to even just to
likewise.
be able to have like these kinds of conversations is so worthwhile. And hopefully as your book gains traction and people are reading the wonderful messages and applying it to their life, I just encourage anyone that's viewing to, if you can reach out to us. Liz
Yeah, I'd love
loves
to
the
hear.
Liz loves the interaction, that's for sure. And it's part of what makes what we do so worthwhile. But like, our conversations have been so great, and thank you for writing such a great book, and
Aw,
providing this sort of forum where we can do this. And it's been good
yeah.
for us, but hopefully good for other people as they listen in. And
That's the
yeah,
mission. And I'm so honored and thankful that you came into my world and we're able to do this. And the heartfelt friendship that has just blossomed over our initial things, and then it's just like grown exponentially with our time together in Mexico.
absolutely. Absolutely. I can guarantee everybody what you see with Liz right now is like literally what she's like all the time.
Yeah, same girlfriend.
Except if she's irritated.
Right? Yeah. Shh.
Me too, though.
All right, you have an awesome day. All right.
Bye.
Bye for
See you
now.
later.